And we are live. Louise, how are you?
Good, thank you.
Oh,
It's so good to see you.
it is incredible to see you. Guys, those of you who don't know, Louise and myself worked together literally years ago. And
Yeah.
this woman is just someone who I'm always drawn to because of her energy. But anyway, before I go in about that, the reason we're late, by the way, we're literally 25 minutes late because I couldn't stop chatting to her. So that's totally my bad. So if you've been waiting, I apologize. That's totally on me. So, right, let's start from the beginning. So first of all, Louise, what were you struggling with before we met?
Right. Okay. Well, hello everyone. I can't obviously see you, but
Oh, what a story.
have the opportunity. So I had children, 4 children. So my oldest is 10, and then I had twins that were unplanned. So to have a second pregnancy and find out that I was carrying 2, and then I had a 4th child, I was carrying weight, and I'd always been active, and I just couldn't shift the fat after having my 4th child. And I think it's because the first child comes along and you can still have an active lifestyle, such as cycling to work and leave the baby with a parent. When the second 2 came along, I was very active with my job. I was traveling a lot and took only 5 months off maternity leave. And then when my 4th and final came, I was sure I wasn't going to have any more children. So I took a year off. I spent a lot of time with the children, but it meant I didn't have a lot of time for myself. So I found it really challenging to fit in the exercise and make right food choices when my energy levels were low because I had 4 children. So that's really the challenge. So a friend of mine had told me about you, Alex, and the team, and how you were very strong around nutrition. So I had put a call into you to say, can you help me? Because I believe that I'm exercising, but I can't shift the weight. And that's really, 2 years on, what I've continued working on, all the things you and the team have taught me.
Oh God, Louise. And obviously went on for a while with all the wonderful pregnancies, by the way. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
And you can see Louise's kids, they're absolutely stunning, by the way. I mean, I have a photograph of one of them with strawberries in a blender. I still have that, Louise, by the way. It is literally one of the nicest pictures. But anyway, before I go off on a tangent, so what or where did you feel that you noticed it, or where did you feel that your weight started to bother you? What scenarios, what situations, when was it on your mind?
Yeah, that's a good question, really. I suppose for women that have had children, you know that your body shape changes, your hips get wider, and you never lose that kind of waist that you used to have where you felt like you had shape. And I felt in particular, I was carrying fat specifically around my tummy that I'd never done before. Now, obviously my belly had stretched because I'd carried twins, but still I knew that I could get rid of this fat with the right exercise and nutrition. And I was finding that was bothering me the most. I kind of felt that I was getting bigger all over, but what was really bothering me was that midriff.
And what did you try? You mentioned you tried exercise. What had you tried that didn't work?
Well, I think what it is, as I said, I'd always been active. So I was kind of the sort of person before children that would kind of work hard and play hard. So I'd go out on a Friday night and, be drinking. And then Saturday morning, I'd join the triathlon club and do a run. I always was active, but I never had to really worry about my weight in the same way because I was able to burn it off. And then when I felt that I'd moved into this mother where I had dependents that I had to think about, I just couldn't find the time to shift it. And then what happens is when you're tired, again, those that are watching with children, you're clearing plates and you're picking food off as you're putting it in the composting bin, or they're getting chocolate as a treat at Easter and the eggs in the fridge. And when you have a cup of tea, you go and break off a bit of chocolate. You're finding that you've got all these temptations around that when you were on your own or with a partner, you didn't really have, because you've got, biscuits and cakes and you're baking and you've got children that are wanting to cook and eat sweet things and you're doing that. And when your energy's low, you kind of reach for that kind of food.
And well, most importantly, what did you achieve? What did you achieve, Louise? And I love this bit.
Well, I suppose I came to you when I think I must have been about 66 kilos and I got down to 61. But it was the centimeters. I felt that, I think I lost something like 17 centimeters. When I look at my thighs and my hips and my waist, it was that I lost inches. And people would say to me, I never felt that big, but they would say to me, God, you just look like you've lost a lot of weight. And actually on the scales, I hadn't lost a huge amount, but because of your advice in terms of how to do it, which was weight training specifically, again, I'd never done. I'd always done the running, the swimming, the cycling, the very cardio heavy fitness.
Mm-hmm.
Never gone to the gym and had a weight training program. So for you helping me with the weights, it meant that I was building more muscle that was helping me burn more fat, that was helping my metabolism be much better, which meant I was burning calories more efficiently. And I hadn't realized that before. I mean, you see a lot of mums that are out running for miles and miles, and they're not encouraged to do weight training. But actually, the weight training was a big thing for me, and that I've passed on to a lot of my friends. Even my mum in her 60s lifts some weights because getting that muscle mass really helps.
And look, Louise, I mean, you're saying it with such conviction. I know that you believe it now. Obviously, you've seen the results of why it works, but there will be people out there who are a little bit scared of the idea of resistance training because there are some false misconceptions that if we do weight training, we get bulky or hurt ourselves. So obviously this is about you, but it's also about inspiring other people. So what would you say to someone who's a little bit scared of doing resistance training?
Yeah, definitely get advice. So like working with you and the team to get a program that's right for you and build it up. I think the biggest thing for me was technique. So having an understanding, you remember your videos. I mean, you had endless videos. I used to go to the gym and before I did anything, I'd play your video with the music. I'd watch your 30-second video on how to do something. The technique's really important. And then again, reporting back how I got on with that weight and then being able to lift a higher weight. So my advice would be to definitely get the right weight training schedule routine from you, and then have the confidence to go and do what the schedule tells you to do within that range. And when it feels hard, it will get easier. But I think, again, a lot of people go and they lift heavy weights and they do high reps, and actually starting with small reps, minimum reps and smaller weights and building up is where you're going to get stronger.
Absolutely. And it doesn't have to happen overnight. People get sometimes overwhelmed thinking they have to be X, Y, and Z by a certain time. There's no hard deadline. As long as you're moving in the right direction, that's all that matters. That's all that matters. And look, you mentioned the chocolate earlier a little bit as well. You mentioned in terms of cravings, how it's easy to pick food up. And I'm sure there's loads of mums out here who can resonate with this. You finish the food on your kids' plates, a snack in the cupboard, whenever your partner has gone to bed or gone into a different room. So how have you managed to sustain those new behaviors? Because obviously the behaviors are more important than information. If you don't address the behaviors, you keep going around in circles. So how have you managed to instill and maintain those behaviors 2 years later?
Yeah, and I probably should correct myself in talking about mums as well as dads, because they're as guilty. My husband is guilty. I should make that gender neutral there in terms of it. All of us are tempted by the children's food and so on. It's the mindset shift that you taught me. It's the relationship. So if I had a cup of tea, I might have a biscuit. So it's changing that relationship with those triggers. So when I have a cup of tea now, I won't have that biscuit. And it's identifying, for example, I went on to green tea for a little while, or after dinner, I'd have a peppermint tea. Just looking at different triggers that when I was tired, I'd have a comfort food or I'd have a bit of chocolate. Or, you know, it sounds criminal, but I chucked one of my kids' eggs away the other day because there's so many eggs in my fridge. And every time I see it, it's there. So then I make a decision, look, we don't need this much chocolate, or I'll put it on the top shelf. It's not easy. You know, it's not like me coming on here saying, oh, I'm cured and I never have these cravings, Alex. I absolutely do, but I fight them a lot more. And your voice is in my head that you find these different techniques that help. You know, it's like going to a supermarket and there being loads of chocolate by the cash desk and the children are asking for chocolate. Well, remove them from the cash desk. That's what we've got to do as adults, is make these decisions to make it easier for ourselves not to be tempted in our hour of weakness or tiredness or low energy.
And in talking about the energy, by the way, because obviously people come to us because they want to lose weight, they want to improve their body composition, they want to learn how to lift weights safely, or they want to address comfort eating. But in terms of energy levels, this is not as glamorous as a before and after on Instagram, but energy levels, in my opinion, impact everything. Your perception of your current situation, your cognitive function at work, your ability to maintain patience with kids sometimes, your ability to put more into your exercise, your career, your relationships, even your sleep. So what have you been doing with this new energy?
Yeah, it's a good point, actually, because it's even things like sleep. You know, again, a few tips that you've given me. The 5-minute journal. So at night, I still do that. Still do a 5-minute journal at night. And then making sure that 3 times a week, I'm conscious that I'm not going to watch the 10 o'clock news on the BBC and I'm going to go to bed earlier. These kind of techniques that have stuck for 2 years, and then they do rub off on people around you. So I'll say to Simon, my husband, I'm going to go to bed early tonight. You know, I'll physically say I want to make that decision, because if I've trained, or if I've got the gym the next day, or if I'm doing training, I know I need sleep. So it's just these little, again, lots of techniques that you taught me in terms of how you lead a healthier lifestyle that, as you say, gives you more energy. You know, when you reach for a biscuit, you feel so different compared to reaching for a chicken leg in the fridge that's just pure protein that makes you feel like you get more energy. And I didn't know that. I went for these quick fixes when actually now I would have a better, healthier meal that does give me more energy.
I love it. Louise, I could listen to you all night. Honestly, I could. And you're just, the fact that you've just kept it on, well, I mean, you've just continued to progress. So why do you think it's sustainable? Why do you think what you've learned isn't a flash in the pan?
I think I knew that I was capable of doing it. I just didn't know how. So I tried, you know, before, when you think, oh, I need to lose weight, you increase your exercise. That's probably what I went to more than food, because I've always had a good relationship with food, but I would do more exercise. Whereas what I've learned is about fueling the body for exercise. So better choices, protein over sugar. I know it sounds obvious, but you know, something you'd said to me before, Alex, like eating sugary cereal in the morning means 2 hours later you crave sugar. Well, I didn't really think about that. Whereas now I would have eggs for breakfast. So again, you're filling with protein and you're full for longer. So in terms of sustaining it, what was the question again?
Why do you think you didn't regain the weight? Why do you feel you've kept all of these centimeters off?
Yes, because you taught me some basic principles that I followed, and I followed them because they work. So when you would say about the protein, about the weight training, about the sleep, about good tips like the 5-minute journal that you sustain because you believe in it, not because it's a fad, you write the 5-minute journal, you reflect back on it, and you realize that it's actually helped you plan your day. You know, I read something like, when you write it down, it means you'll do it. And yeah, I did that in my job, but yeah, I didn't necessarily write it down for my life. So when you know that you've written down you want to go on the spin bike tomorrow, by hook or by crook, you're going to find 45 minutes to go on that spin bike. So it's that type of habit that you're trying to feed in. And you know, those basic principles that you and the team have taught me have stuck, and I share them. You know, when people say to me, you've got 4 children, you're still feeling fit, you've still got energy, how do you do it? I tell them.
Yes, that's what it's about. I mean, it's about sharing it. Like, knowledge isn't something you keep to yourself.
Yeah.
You share it with people, and then people start to admire what you're doing. They start asking you, and what have you done? Oh, I've lost this much weight. How did you do it? And you share how you've done it. And you are the personification of sustainability, Louise. 2 years later, the weight's still off. I love speaking to you. And look, obviously there's people here who are a little bit scared, a little bit nervous, and oftentimes they're actually massive successes in so many aspects of their life, their career, relationships, parenthood, but sometimes they end up coming third or fourth down the line, and they struggle to justify putting themselves first, or they struggle to get a handle on something like weight, which oftentimes, unfortunately, on the internet can be trivialized, but it impacts everything. So what would you say to anyone who's nervous or just is a little unsure?
I would say to almost fast forward. So if you think about where you want to be this time next year and how you want to feel, then what do you need to do to get there within that period? And I think we don't do it. We live in the now and everything's on us. But actually, if we were to think about what a year's time would feel like for us and losing the weight that we want to lose because it will make us feel better and we'll have more energy and it's the way we want to look, then working back from that is a great way to do it. And I think something that, I mean, the group is doing on Facebook is they're sharing their stories, which are really inspiring. But something that can go in there a lot is time, and everyone wants it fast. And there's quite a few people on the group that actually say, I was the same for 6 weeks, nothing shifted, and then suddenly it shifted. It's being patient. And what was that TV program that you supported on the weight loss?
Lose Weight Like Me.
Look at that. That was 4 years. One of those people said they transformed in 4 years. And I think what my takeaway from that program is that it shows that 4 years out of our lives, so I'm 44 now, so you think 4 years out of my life to transform is not a huge amount of time, yet today we want it now. So I think fast forwarding and then working back is a great way to motivate yourself and be really clear about why you're doing it. It's not vanity. It's actually because you believe that a thinner you or a healthier you or a more energetic you is a better you. And I think that's really important, that time when you look in the fridge and you nearly go for that chocolate, think, is it worth it? Or if it is, have it. But then don't beat yourself up about it, because this is not about a 4-week program. It's, I mean, I've been following these principles for 2 years, and it's a lifestyle change for me, but it's been worth it.
Oh, Louise, I'm so drawn to you. The way you come across, I mean, your confidence has went through the roof. If I was to ask you to hop on here and share your story 2 years ago, what would you say to me?
I have nothing to share, really.
Oh.
Pregnancy, unless you want to talk to me about pregnancy.
I'm not experienced there yet, okay? But look, I'm so blessed to have you on here. I really am. And no doubt you'll inspire a hell of a lot of people, Louise. You're achieving, you're sharing the knowledge, you're continuing to win in everything that you do. And I'm just so blessed to have met you and still stay in contact with you, Louise. Look, you have my number, stay in touch, and thanks so much for hopping on. You're a star.
I will do. Oh, it was great to see you again, Alex, and hopefully it's helped people, but you know, don't hesitate. Definitely give you a call. It really works.
Oh, all the best, Louise. You're a star.
All right.
This woman, all the best.
Take care. Bye, Alex.
You too.